Attacks on U.S. and European military targets in Somalia. The terror group Al-Shabaab is claiming responsibility. Details of the attacks just coming in.
Good morning, George. There are hundreds of Pentagon personnel at this base in Somalia, and reports this morning of this attack are dramatic. At least one large vehicle was packed with explosives. The explosives then set off by a suicide bomber at the gate of the military facility. Bursts of gunfire then echoed across the base. The group Al-Shabaab did take responsibility for the suicide bombing, claiming they breached the heavily fortified facility. But a U.S. official tells us there were no American casualties, although the official says a number of enemy fighters were killed. There are also reports this morning that a convoy of Italian peacekeepers in Somalia was targeted by a suicide car bomber, but that explosion missed those peacekeepers, although a number of Somalia citizens were reportedly injured.
Now to Washington and the latest on the impeachment battle. The lead House investigator now says the whistleblower will testify very soon. But there are concerns about that person's safety. So our senior congressional correspondent, Mary Bruce, has those details for us. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Robin. Well, the House is out of session this morning, but this investigation is still plowing ahead. The relevant committees are all working straight through this break, and they are planning to speak with the whistleblower soon. But they are also acutely aware that they need to protect his or her identity. This morning, new safety concerns about the whistleblower who sparked this impeachment inquiry.
We'll get the unfiltered testimony of that whistleblower. Now, we are taking all the precautions we can to make sure that we do so. We allow that testimony to go forward in a way that protects the whistleblower's identity.
ABC News confirming overnight the whistleblower's attorney sent a letter Saturday notifying the acting director of national intelligence of serious concerns we have regarding our client's personal safety. It alleges that certain individuals are offering a $50,000 bounty for the whistleblower's identity.
Both sides of the political spectrum very much represented in the Église Saint-Sulpice this Monday. One woman possibly notable for her absence, Marine Le Pen.
Marine Le Pen, we've talked a lot about that already. And listen, not to make too much of the political absences on this day, but look, officially the French presidency did invite Marine Le Pen, all in the sort of the ambition, the desire to be inclusive of all of society, even parties that the president himself may fiercely disagree with, sort of that universalist embrace. The family itself signaled very strongly that it had no desire for the far-right leader to be there. Let's remember that it was Marine Le Pen's father, Jean-Marie Le Pen, who in 2002 was pitted against Jacques Chirac in that now landmark, very historic and very polarizing election, if ever there was one.
Minister, it has been alleged that you touched the thigh of a woman at a lunch without her permission. Did you?
No, and I think what the public want to hear is about what we're doing to level up and unite the country. And the announcements we're making today, the announcements that Sajid Javid, the Chancellor, is going to be making, are all about infrastructure, fantastic roads programme.
I'm afraid I do have to take you back to that allegation. Are you suggesting, you're saying it didn't happen, that she made it up? I'm just saying what I've said. And I think that what the public want to hear is what we're doing for them and for the country and for investment in ways of uniting the country. You clearly want to talk about policy, but there are questions about your personal life. There is another allegation about Jennifer Arcuri that you gave her special access when you were Mayor of London. Do you feel that these questions are overshadowing your conference now?
Not at all. I think what the public want to hear is what we're doing to bring the country together and get on with improving their lives.
Next tonight, we move to a breaking story. The manhunt for 4 inmates on the loose is now expanding to several states. Officials in southeastern Ohio say the 4 men, you see them right here, overpowered 2 female corrections officers with a homemade weapon and had a car waiting for them. Tonight, that vehicle recovered across state lines, but they're still on the run. And authorities say they are extremely dangerous. Here's ABC's Zachary Quiche.
Tonight, an all-out manhunt for 4 inmates described as extremely dangerous who forced their way out of jail. Officials say the 4 overpowered 2 female corrections officers just after midnight, forcing their way out with homemade weapons at the Gallia County Jail in Ohio.
The homemade weapon was what is commonly referred to as a shank.
One gained access to the administration wing of the jail, where he stole the keys to one of the police vehicles and drove away. Police say the inmates had a vehicle waiting for them 1 block south.
He was the sheriff's deputy who served with a smile, and tonight his legacy is now uniting a community in the midst of incredible loss. At a Houston vigil, hundreds honored Deputy Sandeep Dhaliwal. The 10-year veteran killed Friday, ambushed during a traffic stop. Police say the alleged gunman, now charged with capital murder, was violating his parole when he opened fire on Dhaliwal, hitting the officer multiple times.
A male suspect exited the vehicle, armed with a pistol, and in a cold-blooded manner, ambush-style, shot Deputy Dhaliwal from behind.
The deputy, a husband and father of 3, sold his business to pursue a higher calling, becoming the first member of the Sikh community to join the Harris County Sheriff's Office, where he wore his turban with pride.
Well, the Sikhs believe in community service.
Dhaliwal practicing what he preached, filling a semi-truck with donations after Hurricane Harvey.
More than $3 million of taxpayer money will be spent renovating the Department of Premier and Cabinet's offices in Sydney. The expensive makeover sparking anger from domestic violence groups and hospital workers who say there are many in greater need.
A marble foyer and panoramic city views, but 52 Martin Place is not good enough for the Department of Premier and Cabinet. More than $3 million of taxpayer money being splashed out on renovations, the Premier herself seemingly unaware of the spend.
I'll have no idea about that. Okay. That's news to me.
The contract has been awarded to Intrec Management, with work to begin soon and finish on 30 June next year, at a total cost of $3,048,000. It's a cruel blow for Women's Safety New South Wales, a domestic violence support service which missed out on funding in this year's budget.
With North Korea and China set to mark the 70th anniversary of their diplomatic ties, many observers are speculating that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un might head over to China this week. And if he does, eyes are on how the North Korean leader might use his close ties with Beijing as leverage ahead of the delayed working-level denuclearization talks with the U.S.
Since tensions began to thaw on the Korean peninsula in 2018, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has visited China 4 times. And in June, Chinese President Xi Jinping visited the North Korean capital. These 5 summits between the 2 communist allies took place when they felt the need to show their close friendship before and after the Kim-Trump summits and amid a prolonged deadlock in denuclearization talks. This week, Kim Jong-un is expected to head to China once again. That, as North Korea-U.S. denuclearization talks are expected to get back on track in the near future, and more importantly, as Pyongyang and Beijing celebrate their 70th anniversary of establishing diplomatic ties on October 6th.
To Turkey now, where President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says a new safe zone in northeastern Syria will create an area where his government can repatriate Syrian refugees. He also wants to keep this safe zone in place to prevent Kurdish militants from approaching the southern border. Now, he said he was determined to establish the zone by now, the end of September, but his government and the United States have different ideas about how big the zone should be. Erdogan says he'll act alone if there's no agreement. Meanwhile, Syrian refugees in Turkey say some are already being deported to areas, including the north of Syria, which they say are far from safe.